Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.
Penny, how has it been for you these last few months?
Well, it's been so far so good. 16 great people from Anambra State, both men and women. People I consider great in their own different ways and capacity, and who probably amongst us, so many of them can as well be good governors. So I appreciate that and I give it to them. But so far, one can easily see that it's not just enough to be good. You know, I think what Anambra deserves now is best of the best. Going around the state, 21 local government areas, consulting with people, different institutions and groups, has really reconfirmed my knowledge of Anambra State. It has helped me to appreciate more what needs to be done, what's on the ground, and it's out of that we actually had to come up with our program of action, which is 10-point agenda. So far, so good. It's quite exciting. The party has been sensitized and energized like it has never been before. And the reason is just simply because we have on the ground, for the first time in over 15 years, one channel of state executive that are quite active from the state to local government and the works. We are reaping the benefit because if you come to Anambra today, in this season of election, you find out that it's just PDP everywhere.
Now you said
you've seen little or no activity from any other,
you said
any other
one
party.
PDP down the line. There was a court judgment, FCT High Court, announcing a separate executive as the authentic in Anambra State because people were apprehensive, sympathizers of PDP. Their apprehension driven out of the fact that this is what played out in the past that limited PDP's chances, inter-party squabbles. And here he goes again.
Well, yes, it's a fact that we have been victims of these intra-party issues. The judgment is just coming from the same source who thought they could still do the same thing the same way like in the past. But one thing I can assure you is that PDP is not deterred with that. And I think also because of the error in the judgment, the legal team of the party is doing everything possible to make it known to the court that you can't give judgment over a judgment of the same type that has been obtained from the same court of the same level. So
courts that have a concurrent
jurisdiction, yet. So because actually the same FCT High Court had in 2018 reaffirmed this same executive led by Chief Nobisi Nwobu as the only authentic and nullified the claim that is being made by the other party based on which this judgment was obtained. So we do not expect that that one coming first in time can be superseded by any new judgment. The only thing that can be done is to go on appeal. And for the fact that they did not go on appeal to vacate the judgment that is existing, is very suspicious. But again, court is court. Court has spoken, and everything is being done within the legal process and the channels to readdress the wrong. But I can tell you that it has little or no effect in the process that is going on. The process is ongoing, and the party is determined to withstand this group of people and ensure that one single candidate emerges and go to the political election with victory.
Yes, and united.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to the number of aspirants I mentioned. 16, that should be the highest for any political party in Anambra State. What does this speak of?
Yeah, currently is the highest one. It shows that PDP is vibrant, is healthy, and is alive, because in as much as you have about 18 political parties eligible to contest this election, 80% of them don't even have a candidate. So for the fact that there are these numbers in PDP, it's a recognition that PDP is alive, and then it is worthy to be identified with, and that the vibrancy going into the election will just be great. So I think I see it as a good development. For me, the more the merrier. And each and every one of them is doing what they can do in their own capacity at different levels sensitizing the party, sensitizing the public, is making PDP better. And I hope at the end of the day that the most credible candidate will emerge. And not only the candidate who can win the primaries, it should be candidates who can win the primaries and popular enough to win the election, and more importantly, have a program to make Anambra a better place.
That's the ultimate.
That it's not just enough to win primary, because I can tell you...
They are all means. The primary is a means, the main election is a means, the end is to develop Anambra.
The end is to develop Anambra, because we've had government that won the primaries, won the election, and nothing better has come. So I think that this is what I expect the party leadership, the delegates to be looking at. Somebody might have the tricks and magic of winning the primary, because the politics of winning the primary is different really from the politics of winning the general election. But I think that this time, if we have a full package, we should be looking at the end. Who can really make Anambra what is supposed to be, a model state, just like we are preaching.
Maybe much later on the program, I'll ask you who is that man and what he can do. But let's just stay with the 16 aspirants. You said the more the merrier. Good.
Oh, yes.
But too many cooks spoil the broth. How will PDP manage the primaries aftermath?
Well, the secret is to continue to be free and fair and transparent. I think that any person who goes into that election and sees that it's transparent and it's free, and somebody else wins, in the spirit of sportsmanship, we expect people to tag along, get along, and then go to the election as a united party. It has placed the party to qualify all the aspirants during the screening.
None was screened out.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good
enough. It shows greater transparency and objectivity.
It shows greater transparency.
Unlike what we are seeing in other parties.
Well, good for them. It is good they're having the taste of the pie this time. So the party has done really marvelous work. The national headquarters. If you recall the time our timetable was out, as soon as the INEC came up with their timetable, the office of the National Organizing Secretary went into action, and have been moving along with the program as it should be. We are really the most organized party in Anambra State as it is, both from the level of the highest position and the lower level of the state. Because other parties, you don't even know when anything is coming up. But we have been transparent and open. So I really think that this is a new spirit, it's a new zeal, and we must take the best advantage of it.
I asked of the aspirants, 16 of them, because from what happened in the past in the Anambra Governorship elections, PDP rarely went into the main contest a united party, throwing all it has into the contest. We've seen post-primary issues that affected the unity of the party and depleted the strength.
Yes, it has been such most of the cases. But I think the PDP people had taken a stock, did housekeeping, and sworn this time not to be their own self-enemy. So I think that from the experience of the past, they've also seen that you cannot see with another person's eye. If you leave your party to support another party to win, at the end of the day, they have all lost out. Promises are usually made, I will give you this, I will give you that. They have seen that there's nothing better than having your own party. So I think there is a strong resolve now that whatever happens, majority of the people will stick to PDP. And besides, those days, there were better parties to run to. Now there is none. Amga is in shambles. It's not even a shelter that anybody want to jump into a boat that is rocking.
Or it's still the incumbent.
Oh yes, you don't want to do that. And other political parties have little or no footing in Anambra State. The winning party is PDP, and I think that should be the attraction, because government is huge, it's large, and at the end of the day, the party is working on a very strong reconciliation committee. That machinery will be able to put people together. But like I said, first things first. It has to be transparent, it has to be clear, everybody has to be convinced that the winning was just, landslide, or rather a home call. When that is done, it will just be like scoring a clean goal. And anybody who thinks otherwise, if that is done, obviously there's nothing you can stop, because we're also aware there are some aspirants who are within us as a mission, but we're hoping that
who are within you?
Who
Because we've seen in the past where parties take interest in the primaries of other parties.
Exactly.
To frustrate and implant some people. Do you think it is playing out now? Because some people are saying some other parties may be afraid of a particular candidate emerging from the PDP, and they want to even truncate it right from there.
Yes, it has been an old game, but with strong prayers and dedication of this journey to God, what we're just seeing now is back to sender. And the first in the league of that political party is Abga, but they are feeling the taste of the pie now. And therefore, us internally...
Where is it coming from?
Well,
is it coming from the PDP
well,
now to
it's
Abga?
from heaven. It's from heaven, because it's already destined that Abga must go. And for us internally, we have a feeling of those type of people who are within us. So what we're working on now is convert those spies to be lovers. So those who are on a mission to destroy us, we're working hard to make them lovers, and rather stick to PDP than just carrying out the act. But again, Abga, I think, also has enough in their hands, and are busy enough to follow up with this plan. Because at the end of the day, Abga had remained the beneficiary of the intra-party crisis in PDP. So this time around, they are feeling the heat, and then they will be dealing with their thing until PDP just walk across them. So there's no house for these people to run to if PDP comes down. And besides, with the resolve the party has made from the national to the state to the zone, I think PDP will withstand all those plans and still emerge victorious.
Now, let's take a look at your agenda.
Yes.
We've talked about the party. Let's talk about you. I know you have a 10-point agenda to work on and implement if you clinch the party ticket and the governorship. Let us into it again.
Oh, yes. This 10-point agenda is made out of a common sense. It is not out of place that occasions like this, people hire consultants, hire groups to do some rhetorics in the name of manifesto. But the 10-point agenda we came up with, two things are unique. Each and every one of them are things we're already doing in our own individual capacity at that level where we are. So what we're just trying to say is that with this and the larger platform, like the governorship, where we can now influence the policy and then lead the implementation, we should do that in a larger scale to benefit a whole lot more of people. That's the unique point. And the second aspect of it is that it is people-oriented. It is people-oriented, and we made it out of a common sense to be practical. Let's take, for instance, two critical things that have been neglected by other leaders in the past. The issue of diaspora engagement in Anambra State is very cardinal in our 10-point agenda. Good number of Anambrarians are living outside the borders of Anambra, whether they're internally, diasporans, or internationally. So we're going to engage them with a special Ministry of Diaspora and Affairs. That's going to be huge. Another thing also that is unique is the value reorientation. We've looked at the generality of the problems we're having in Anambra State. Yes, there are no jobs. Countries might be out of job. States might be out of job. But the moral principles of those who are around now is way, way outside our own culture. In Anambra State, you are groomed by the religious and the cultural values. And each and every one of them abhors most of the attitudes that we are seeing. And it is not supposed to be so, no matter the circumstances. If you don't have job, it's not a reason for you to be going to criminal act. Job is necessary. And then we are coming also with job creation. I've been creating jobs, quality jobs for that matter. So if I say I'm going to create job during my administration, people should believe it. And then we're also coming in as a role model, because Anambrarians don't really need so much. They just need that person to inspire them, to tell them, hey, you can be what you want to be. Look at me. I grew up in this city. I was born in this community. This is where I am. They just need to be inspired. A little bit of pep talk, touch in the back to say, hey, you can do it. That's all they need to be whatever they want to be. So I really think that these are the unique things. And then if you look at the youth manpower development and employment, it's what we're already doing. Recently, my foundation signed a MOU with the Celestians, Fathers of John Bosco. These are the people who had, across the world, raised one of the best workforces. And these people, if you go to India, in the last 5 years, they have trained about 500,000 people. 50% of them are exported to other parts of the world. We are bringing them under our foundation. We started a program for them, Skillful Education. So you can imagine if we become governor and use policies to support this and make it a state affair, it will go going. Then we're talking about, again, attracting direct foreign investment. It's not by rhetoric. People invest in certain places with sentiment. A lot of investments that we will get to get Anambra moving will come from Anambrarians outside. But I'm going to put a whole lot of things in place to tap into my international networks. Mm-hmm. And a good number of them are already showing some promises, because I think that within first year in our office, we should be able to generate a couple of billions of US dollars direct into Anambra economy. But before then, obviously, we would have secured the environment, would have given them the reasons to be comfortable.
It's necessary. I know a lot of people from Anambra who are willing to invest, but the security of the investment, the enabling environment is what puts them back.
Yes, the security of the investment is critical. I was, last 2 weeks, I gave my lecture on M.I. Opala, and I read out a text I received from one of the Anambrarians who had invested in Anambra a long time ago. And in a summary, he was just saying that, listening to me in one of these programs we had here, he sent me a text. It was very touching, that he was already losing hope and planning of closing down everything he had in Anambra State. But having had me and our plans, he sees hope. He sees better future for Anambra. So he has decided to tally a little bit. Security is very critical. Some of these securities are taking place because at certain aspects that require priority has not been attended to. The youths are in the streets, they have no job. Those who are working are poorly paid because the economy is not vibrant.
I wanted us to go into this area because you mentioned your 10-point agenda. There's the youth component, but you spoke of the diaspora and the investors, and I'm wondering, what about the people? Yes, poverty may be lower in Anambra comparatively with other states, but there's still some measure of poor people. What is the attraction for them in this program?
Well, you see, our government is coming not only to create wealth and make people rich, but at the end of the day, we don't want to be known as those who had created billionaires. We want to go into the legacy as those who had people that are not poor during our administration. This again, I say, we are doing it in our foundation, Pro Value Humanity. We are attending to the poorest of the poor. We know there are a lot of Anambrarians who don't even need light, but they have life, who don't even cross their gate for 6 months because they are sick, who do not even have anybody to say, good morning, Papa, Mama, how are you doing? So this is already what we are doing in our foundation. So it is critical for us. That's on our social welfare program.
What's the number of those that have benefited? And what's the aftermath? Because there are many poverty alleviation programs, and at the end of the day, it crumbles. How have you been able to do monitoring and evaluation to get
this
sustainability?
You see, Tony, my understanding of governance is that you just have to do enough to enable those who have the capacity and the scale and qualification to be engaged gainfully and make money. But the government must also be a safety net for those who cannot help themselves. Maybe disabled, the sick, the aged, they just have to be catered for. So we have seen that from our programs, we have the list of those we are attending to. They're happy. Some of them have had a new life changed. So we think it is something that in Anambra, most of the things you see that look like as if we don't have poverty, it's actually not because of the economy and then the income that people who live internally there generate. It's because of diasporan engagement. If you look at a typical home in Anambra State, 80% of them maybe have their old mother or their old father. The rest are outside the state. So if they have to go to hospital, they send money. At the end of the month, they send money. Sometimes they carry them, fly them overseas for treatment. So this is because income level in Anambra State has dropped. So we're going to bring back people who will reside in Anambra State, do their business, make their income, and make life better for the people. So I really think that we will cater for all, the active population, the non-active population, and be there for everybody who needs help.
So there's something for every segment of the population.
Exactly and absolutely. And the youth, you have to prepare them because some people say that job is not available. Yes. But again, we see large number of our youth who roam the streets, large number of our youth who are in cult activities, large number of our youth who wake up in the morning. If they are keke drivers, if they are bus drivers, for somebody to wake up in his house by 6 a.m. and be out there laboring till 6 p.m., it is somebody who wants to be somebody. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we think that a good government policy will make anybody be better off for what he wants to be. So when I look at those youths who are seen as criminals, I don't see criminals in them. I see wasted talent. I see wasted opportunities. I do tell them when I'm addressing them. That's sometimes I don't blame them because probably if I was born at their age, I would have been one of them because there's nobody who is caring for
If the
anybody.
opportunities were not there.
Yeah, so they didn't have the
they were
opportunities. We are going to create the opportunities, and that's why having somebody like me as a leader will also be inspirational to them, and then they will, because we don't have role models in our society anymore. So I really think we can put all these things together and help them out to become something. Because if you look at it, this could be talents you can export. If you go to China, there's
high mobility of labor across the world.
High mobility of labor. But I'm not against people moving out. But we should equip this labor force. Those are our brothers and sisters, so we should equip them so that by the time they're traveling to some other country, they're going as expatriates. I mean, you look at it.
To add value.
You go to people, if you want marine experts, like in the vessels, you hire the Philippines. If you want good nannies, you have the Philippines. If you want therapists in your spa, you have the Philippines. We have a good number of population who can offer as much at the same service and be exported also across the world.
Requisite skills and training.
Yes.
After all, India,
right.
Egypt are higher than Nigeria in terms of diaspora remittance, and our own diaspora inflow has almost been the size of our annual budget. So it's
you're absolutely right. It's a very good area to tap into. So we should not discourage our people from traveling around the world, but we should equip them better to be more useful to whatever society they go to, and also make income for themselves.
Okay. We'll go on a break now. When we come back, we talk more on the issues revolving around Saturday's scheduled primaries of the People's Democratic Party in Anambra State to pick its candidate for the November 6th governorship election. Please do stay with us.
As a visionary leader, Michael Obiora, who was the premier of the Old Eastern region, remains reference point for good governance, not only in the Southeast region, but Nigeria as a whole, with his leadership philosophy which centers on the welfare of citizens. Drawing from the legacy of Obiora and his contemporaries, Obiora Okonkwo, who delivered the maiden leadership lecture at the event, believes that governance in Nigeria will improve if citizens question the decisions those in authority makes on their behalf.
I so often wonder how we got to this very low point in our public life of demanding too little from our government, where the payment of salaries is now considered an achievement. Our leadership dwell more or less on our friends, The number of kilometer roads we have constructed in our state. What about those citizens who don't even get out of their houses? In the course of my work in my foundation, I realized there are people, brothers and sisters who might be next door. They've never crossed their boundary for 6 months. They've never been visited by anybody.
Obiora Okonkwo says he is inspired by Okpara's legacy to seek elective position to become the next governor of Anambra State to ensure that the citizens are well catered for.
Okpara's magic can be reinvented. Like I had said severally, I am in the race just to make positive impact on lives and lift our state from the poor level of governance where it has been brought to and offer a new meaning to leadership. I intend to bring about a station where the people are at the center of every government decision and policy.
Participants are also in agreement that government should create employment opportunities, emulate the late Michael Okpara to stem the rising wave of insecurity in the country.
The numerous industries that he originated, millions of people were employed then. So there is no job. Those people have lost their jobs.
An award of excellence was given to Dr. Obiora Okonkwo, which he says is a challenge for him to transform Anambra State towards the vision Michael Okpara stands for when elected as governor.
So this is a day of joy, and I'm happy to be honored with this award.
So much for staying with us. Dr. Obiora Okonkwo is an aspirant under the PDP for their November 6th governorship election and has been my guest. Thank you so much for staying with us. That was Michael Okpara maiden lecture. You serve as the lecturer.
The centenary lecturer, yes.
Now, Michael Okpara, former premier of Old Eastern Nigeria's governance model and structure, is one everybody tries to meet as the benchmark.
It was magical, Amechi. It still amazed me how a 39-year-old person at that young age, with the remote world that we live in, no much television, no internet, no much knowledge of what's happening in so many places, unlike now, you just watch TV or go to the Google, to come up with such original policies that made the Southeast region as the fastest economy in the whole world. If you look at it, everything government wants to be today, Michael Okpara has done 60 years behind. The Abacha government in Anambra State today set up a committee for Vision 2070. Everything they're dreaming about, even putting on paper, not implementing, to be done in Anambra in 2070, Michael Okpara has done them all. Are you talking about agriculture, the farm settlements? Are you talking about infrastructure, the roads, the networks? He built Presidential Hotel in Enugu and Port Harcourt. I haven't seen anything bigger than that across that part of the world. Talking about 60 years ago. It was during his regime, they provided the funding for UNN. We haven't had any institution bigger than that. It's not even as good as it was in the past.
So his record still stands tall, yet to be matched.
He is my leadership hero. And so when I was approached to give that lecture, I made known to his son that I think Michael Okpara must have been a saint. It was his spirit that directed them to me to give that lecture, because in my previous outings, and even on this studio, Amechi, we had made a whole lot of references to his leadership and his achievements. Governance is not cast on stone. If you can come up with your own initiative, look at already set out templates to emulate. So I really think that it was a great honor and privilege to be in that podium and talking about Okpara. Yes, I'm proud to say that we aspire to replicate his magic, and probably with our own version of this millennium. Yes.
How would Michael Okpara's leadership style and strategy and governance method fit into Anambra if you become the next governor?
Well, in his leadership, he's integrity was impeccable. He was prudent with management of little or no resources. All these resources he managed to use for all these things came from just agricultural produce and
Palm produce,
produce.
And taxes.
Today, how many people earn money and how much was the tax? It's majorly from what government generates. We're going to put that into play. Because, and then coming from a private sector experience, I know how to be prudent with resources. I've been blessed by God, and I'm ever grateful to him. So my mission now is not anymore to go and enrich myself. So I'm going to bring integrity and transparency to the process of governance. These are part of the skills Michael Obiora. And besides, mentorship, which he benefited from great Nnamdi Azikiwe, helped him a lot. So in that case, he was prepared to lead. I am prepared. I've gone through the best schools in the world. I've obtained the highest level of education that you can afford. And I've been part of the system. I've been part of governance from the back end. And again, I had prepared myself to be, through my private sector experience, through my engagement in other areas of life. So that makes me better prepared. So I really think that with that, we are going to tap into great resources, human resources Anambra has. And I am blessed that people listen to me, a good number of professionals who are outside the borders of Nigeria, who are from Anambra State, and even Southern region, are already calling us, that they are praying for us to get the ticket and win the election, that they are coming in droves. They don't need anything, but they are bringing in their skills, their resources. Even our brothers from other states who say they have not had even opportunity to do what they want to do in their state. So it doesn't matter to them if Anambra becomes where they should start. And besides, if you look at our 10 points agenda, we are looking at integrated economy of the Southeast. That's similar also
Going beyond Anambra.
Going beyond Anambra. Because Anambra, territorially and economically, cannot stand alone. You see, because if you are generating activities, you must have to offer your service to people around. You have to invest in massive infrastructure. We're going to do surface track railway. It can't be running around Anambra alone. You need to link the entire South.
And the linkages with the federal government is also essential here because railway is under the exclusive list.
No, but
the
government will be able to.
There's devolution of powers now in the present constitutional amendment process, but that does not remove the fact that with proper linkages with Abuja, it could be achieved.
No, I don't think that government will be averse to such. We are not taking over the job of railway corporation, but we are providing interconnectivity within the region. In fact, yesterday, I flew down from Asaba, and in my mind, something came to my mind. I was driving across the Niger Bridge. I was asking the guy next to me, why this so much thing about Second Niger Bridge? That I've looked at this river from the right side. Why could we not connect a bridge that will just take the people of Onitsha into Delta State? And coincidentally, when I came down from the aircraft yesterday, I saw the former governor of Delta State. And I asked him that question, hey, look at what was just troubling my mind. Because if you look at the bridge they built in Lagos that puts Lekki to the old Ikoyi, it went through the waters. Because if you do that, you are really connecting Asaba and Onitsha easily. And they wouldn't have wasted this time, wouldn't have costed this whole money. But again, we're happy for the Second Niger Bridge. We hope it will decongest the number one bridge there and then make movement easier. But I can tell you that growing up in Onitsha, knowing the economic activities in the state, people from River State come to Onitsha to buy their Christmas shoes. People from Asaba cross the bridge to buy their own size of fish and the part of meat they want. That was the life in Anambra there. Today we've lost it, but we're going to reconnect it with larger activities, with infrastructures and program of economic integration. We'll be able to bring them together. there must be a cooperation. I don't see the reason why rivers cannot be cooperating with Anambra State. I don't see the reason produce that are made in Anambra cannot be sold under a special arrangement. There are a whole lot to be done. So we see that, again, coming from Michael Opala's, because today they have cut out 9 states out of the old Eastern region that he was the premier. So I still really think that administratively that's fine. Those states are 9 now, but economically they can be one.
Through some economic integration policies.
And then beyond that, we can even go to the other side of the middle belt. There is a place in Ayamele, local government. You just need to do about maybe 20, 30 kilometer bridge.
To link up with Kogi.
To link up with Kogi. And if you do that 20, 30 kilometer bridge, it takes you 3-4 hours maximum to leave Anambra and be at the heart of Abuja. What does that require? Little funding. And when that is done, it's going to help our state, Anambra, that cannot compete with agrarian lands like Kongi. You know, with the size of the entire Southeast is less than Niger State. It's about equal the size of that's the land match. It's about equal the size
There's
of Kogi.
pressure on land.
So if you do that, you can harvest your agricultural produce in Kongi and then come into agro-based industry in Anambra State across the bridge to process. So if you do that, you have integrated this whole part of Anambra and then Niger and Kogi. So I think these are the things we are looking at.
Yes, you have a private sector experience with private sector player. You have excelled in the private sector, but public sector is an entirely different thing. There are gaps. How do you intend to close this gap?
Well, public sector, as it is today, does not stand alone. There's a thin line between public sector and private sector. And we have also seen recently that the experience in the public sector has not helped anything better. If you're a legislator, if it has been great and have been doing a great job, why do we have all these problems we're having today? If you have been in governance, what impact have you made? But if you look at the public sector, it's success upon success upon success upon success. If the public sector sets up a refinery, they can manage it. Where do they go?
Does the private sector manage?
No, if the public sector set up refinery, it doesn't work.
Okay.
If they build infrastructure,
like we are seeing with the 4 refineries?
They hand it over to private sector. So what we need now is not the public sector experience. It is the private sector. Bureaucracy is great. And if you look at it from our study, the bureaucracy in Anambra State is almost at the lowest level. You need the bureaucracy as the oil that greases, the wheel of government process. In fact, one can even say it's the tire on which the government structure ride on. So we understand the importance, but there should be a whole new training, retraining, because they are the institutional memories of governance. But what you see today is that when governors come in, they appoint thousands of SAs and then boycott the bureaucracy. It's not good for governance. Render it the capacity here. So we are thinking that it's part of our cardinal agenda, strengthen the bureaucracy, get the right people there, because decent employments have been to favor people. If a governor is going out, he employs 5,000 people, dump them there, they don't have offices, they don't have jobs, and then they just write their name and go to their various businesses. It's not good for government.
And being paid at the end of every month.
Yeah. So I really think that private sector experience is what we must give a chance in the governance and not the public sector.
So you're going to exploit concession, partnerships between public-private sector?
Oh yes. It is a lot of our plans. There should be a public-private partnership. We have people who will trust our integrity and transparency of any process. That will encourage them to come and put their money. Like we look at it today, there are a whole lot of infrastructures that are lying waste in Anambra State. The Kenga Hotel, for instance, was started sometime in the administration of Peter Obi. Today is in comatose. There's a huge shopping mall in Anambra State. I can tell you, Tony, Amechi, as we speak today, I already have those who are ready to take up that project. Well, we take the government. We sign off a concession at $1. $1. Just go finish it. Give them a time frame to finish it. It will bring about employment. It will bring about economic activities. They will make revenue. They pay tax to government. We have
Where will
nothing
be
to
the
lose.
equity structure, ownership for the government?
Well, you see, it depends. The government will have a stake, but the investment in it, government will not put money. They will have a stake, and for this fact that you are signing up, because there are already some certain level of investment, and that will also work in areas of energy. EEDC now, we can sit down with EEDC.
That's
And know
Enugu electricity distribution.
Yes, Enugu electricity
that covers Anambra.
Yes. There could be certain investments that can be made by the state to improve electricity supply. Because, we're going to work on industrial clusters and all that. I've done that in my own community. I met you when the supply of light was epileptic. I called a meeting of EDC. There were old bills that were not paid. We settled it. We invested as a community on certain infrastructure. Today in my hometown, I have 90 to 95% light. And all the big businesses, the hotels, the industries, they are getting light. So that's why I'm telling you that what we are proposing for Anambra are things we have done in our own individual capacity. So they are doable. You need to sit down and engage them.
Now, as we get set to leave the studio, first, what message do you want to get across to the delegates? That's the PDP delegates that will do the real thing come this Saturday.
Well, I will just have to let them know that I appreciate the understanding, the cooperation they have given us since we started this race. And I also will let them know that each aspirant in the race deserves their respect and their regard, because at the end of the day, no matter who wins the ticket, we must come together as a party to fight for the election. And as they go to cast their vote on 26th, they should remember that it is not a matter of who can win just the primaries, but who can win the election. And they should not forget the journey we have all started some years back. That journey has been full of testimonies, because with the God's power and strength, He has made it possible for us to overcome. So I expect that it has come to a time they should look at their ballot and ask themselves a question. Who is the true party man amongst all these aspirants? I am the oldest member of PDP since 1999.
Among the aspirants?
And I've never left the party to any political party. Then another question is, who has the capacity proven to lead Anambra State? They should look at what I have achieved as an individual and believe that I'm coming in to work for them and the rest of Anambra people. And they should not forget also that the party may have the right to choose to give the ticket, but it is only Almighty God who has power. And to whom He gives, it is to whom He supports. So they should be able to pray, sit down, and make sure that God guides their decision. Sentiment is not enough. If it pleases them that they should give somebody or that person their vote, as long as they consider these points, and whatever decision they take is good for me.
Even at the face of inducement, because you know what happened during
that's what I'm saying, that don't vote for money. Don't vote because this person is your brother or this person is your sister. Look at the state of affairs in Anambra State and know who you think can make it better based on what he has achieved for himself, not necessarily the political position he has occupied in the past. Because if those political position has given the requisite experience to make things better, then it should have been a reflection of our society. So somebody new, a new face, somebody from somewhere new, fresh hand, fresh face is required. So if given me that chance, I think that it should be a great opportunity to make Anambra a model state.
We have to thank you so much, Dr. Obiora Okonkwo. I wanted to ask a message for the electorate, but let's wait till after the primaries. That's when we begin to interface with the electorate directly. But one word, one sentence, chip in from you for that.
Well, I think that there's really a thin line between the delegates and the electorate, because as delegates go to the poll, they should also be checking who should be that popular candidate that will attract the votes from the electorate. So it's a combination of four both.
Okay.
And for the electorate, I know you are waiting. A good number of you have been disgruntled by the process. The selection process to select party bearers, flag bearers, is very critical in any democratic setting, because the quality of the person you bring determines the outcome of your election.
Okay.